Hey guys, what's up? It's coming back to ya with another episode. Garide's Witchla, and I don't have too much to report. I actually think I slept better last night than in a long time. I think these past couple days have been like a little bit iffy when it comes to my sleep quality. So that was absolutely a nice change of pace. And yeah, I don't know, but I actually could have been down here earlier, but I just wasn't. I guess I just took a relaxed morning, and that's just what I did. Because I feel like I'm like gonna be slightly later than yesterday. That's kind of what the vibe I'm feeling is right now. It's just I'm just gonna be slightly later than I was yesterday. So do with that what you will, but I definitely could have been earlier than yesterday. I did not. There's no reason why I'm gonna be, as I said, slightly later, because there's just no reason for that. There's no reason for it. So, but yeah, yeah. So we'll probably. I'm gonna estimate a few minutes later than yesterday. That's gonna be my estimate. And but yeah, I guess we're doing good. Potentially, I mean, actually, it may be a little bit more difficult to sleep well because that's kind of usually how it goes. Like if if I if you sleep well, then it's kind of like you actually end up it actually ends up like because you're gonna be less tired. So, but it's good. It's good. I'm hoping. Well, I was hoping I would get in the car earlier, which I really had zero excuse not to. But that's just how things went today. Like I don't know, they didn't go how they should have. So it happens. But yeah, there was no excuse for it. I could have been in here. I don't know what I was thinking about. I was thinking about like right kind of before I got in the car and everything is just how like I think so many people I don't even think they have the scope or the processing to realize whether a person's judgments are accurate or not because it's many people they they just go, "Oh, that's judgmental. Oh, you're being judgmental," or "Oh, I don't like this. I don't like that." But I don't think people really usually think about like the true ramifications of whatever topic it is they're actually referring to. Um, if that makes sense. I mean, it's just like I don't know. I hope that's making sense. It's just 'cause like seriously. You know what I mean? Nah, you probably don't know what I mean cuz I feel like I'm doing a horrible job of explaining this. It's kind of like most people they're not even in a place where they themselves can make judgments. So I think that's why they don't like when other people make judgments. Because if somebody is lost, like their life is a mess and they're not very self actualized, they don't really know what they're doing. Even if they are self actualized, but let's say their routine is relatively poor, why would they be able to properly or coherently give out a judgment that is actually like can stand, you know. I mean, anybody can give out a judgment, like anybody can give out a judgment, you know what I mean? And but it's different to give out a judgment that's relevant, you know what I'm saying? Like a judgment that's relevant, that hits. I don't think everybody is necessarily in the place to do that, but you have to remember where many people's egos are. They're either inflated or they can be fragile, which I now believe fragile egos lead to um it manifests as sometimes as somebody having an ego, because it's like that's just what it leads to. Like I don't really know how to explain that. It leads to that. I don't know if that is making sense or not. Because when somebody's fragile, sometimes they can get defensive, and they can be more aggressively defensive than somebody who is not fragile. But, you know, at the same time, also, some people with a fragile ego can also be, like, more submissive. Whereas, like, you know, if you're trashing them or dissing them or whatever, maybe they're going to be more, like, just like, yeah, I mean, I am a mess. But I just notice a lot of people are really not like that nowadays. I kind of have a feeling that there's definitely been kind of this growth of people who, you know, are not really submissive, and it's like everybody has kind of become more domineering and like self-centered, and it's more and more difficult for us to submit, you know. But of course, what we submit to is our technology. We submit to the algorithms, and you know, that's really where our submission lies. So it's interesting how that works. But in terms of other people, it's like more than ever, it's more and more difficult for us to do that. And we've already talked about why I think that's the case. Just because we can't see what's in common with another person as easily, because we're all so different. So but that's just what I was kind of thinking about, is that judgment thing, and you know, people's sensitivity to it. But I think that part of it has to do with like comprehension, because I think if people, like, people, a lot of people wouldn't act like that. They wouldn't get all defensive and crazy if they knew like what the deal was. I don't think they would, at least. I mean, maybe they still would, but I think a lot of people do that just because it's a mindless thing. Like it's extremely mindless to just be like, you know, someone throws an insult at you, you throw an insult back, even if you're in the wrong. Like, you see what I mean? I feel like it's just so at its core, it's like probably the lowest point of human. Like it's like what some of the lowest things about our nature, you know. So that's just how I feel. That's how I think, honestly. Yeah, I did remember to take my other beef out of the freezer, which is good because that's really a disaster when that doesn't materialize. And yeah, I keep getting like mixed up with the days, but yeah, I keep thinking like, am I gonna have to do that today? But no, no, I'm good. I'm good. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed with my time and getting in this car. I really should have been earlier today. There's not really any excuse for it, but you know, happens I suppose. It happens I suppose. But yeah, no. So that's what I think the thing about judgment is it's like people aren't really used to it either, because you have to like remember someone like me is competing with other people who won't, not because they wouldn't, but because they can't even make the judge. Like if you can't see the things that I see to judge, you're not going to judge. But I think a lot of people, if they were inside my mind, like they would do exactly the same thing as me. Like I think there are some people where they're not judgmental based on the fact that they just have like a kind personality. So it's kind of like, I mean, whatever happens to them is going to be, trying to think. Yeah, I mean, whatever. What I mean, even if they like, because I have some kindness and patience, but I think I get. Well, and you know what? That's actually a whole other thing. You could make the argument that even somebody with like a super kind and patient persona, if they were given the severe awareness that some people have, they may also turn sour. Like, I don't know that. I would have to assume that actually like kindness and patience, it kind of comes through blindness or like an ignorance, because a lot of times that's how you're able to be kind and patient and wait, is when you're ignorant. But once you know something, it just totally changes everything. You know what I mean? Like once you know that, um once you're aware of certain things, like things definitely just change. So, and I think that goes without saying. So, in a way, I think yeah, like the world could be just a colder place if there was more awareness, but I don't think that's due to. I don't think that increased coldness is due to much about humans and more about the nature of this world. I mean, so many people do things and they're not tracking the numbers. They don't really know what, you know, how bad what they're doing is or how bad what other people are. So where you're in kind of this like loose fantasy of reality where you're not really quantifying anything, and you're just kind of like you're actually able to be much kinder and much more optimistic. You definitely can be, you know. Um, yeah, for some reason I don't know. I'm feeling like we're gonna be much later than yesterday. It's like, it's shameful. It's very shameful. Because it just shouldn't have been like this. But, you know. Oh yeah. I was almost getting confused because I was forgetting why I was saying like it's shameful, and I was almost thinking I was like talking about other people and saying that, and I was like that really doesn't sound like like it sounded kind of funny, but I figured I was kind of joking, and I am, but I'm pretty upset at the same time, like because I thought I was just gonna be a few minutes later, but it's like now it's looking like it's gonna be more than a few minutes. I mean, I don't even know what the estimate would be at this point. No, actually, wait, yeah, er, no, I mean I guess it still could be. I'm not really sure. I'm not entirely sure. But you know, even though I slept well, I'm still feeling relatively tired. I need like another good night of sleep. So hopefully tomorrow I can get that consecutive streak. But yeah, and I assume with things like sleep, you know, that's just why a lot of people say that kind of stuff or do that kind of stuff. I don't even think people know what they're talking about. Like, I honestly think a lot of people just lie when they say stuff like, oh, like, I only need 4 hours of sleep, or like, yeah, like, I only slept 4 hours. Like, I think there's a lot of, like, people not even understanding time properly, and just, like, sometimes they're throwing out numbers that aren't really accurate, you know. That's definitely like a thing. So they might say that they only slept 3 hours, but like they actually slept like five. You know what I mean? That's first of all. And then there's lying in the form of people saying, like, oh, all I need is 5 hours of sleep. And all of which have been said to me before. And I just know it's all wrong. It's all wrong. But it's one of those things where sleep, you know, it's something that we don't have any control over. And so in this era where there's just like a quick fix for everything, sleep is still this thing that like it it's almost antithetical. I think I'm using that word correctly. I'm not sure. It's antithetical to that because it's like you can't sleep is something that occurs almost like there is not really a fix for. And I know I'm saying this. I know there's sleep meds, right? I'm well aware of that. But I think a lot of people, even who take sleep meds, like it doesn't really, they still have problems sleeping, as far as I know. That's just my, from the people I've known. I mean, it probably helps, but for some people it still really doesn't. Like even if they take melatonin, it it just doesn't really, like they're still have a hard time sleeping. It may initially help, but it's like one of those things where it's you can get your body can get used to it. Although I'm not going to say this too affirmatively because I don't really understand how, like, I never really looked into it. If But it's partially based on an assumption and partially based on what I've heard. Like, if you're taking melatonin, like, you should not be taking it like to be dependent on it. You should be taking it kind of as like a temporary fix to try to get your schedule back on track. And then you're probably not really supposed to chronically take it. Like, you're probably supposed to take it if you really want to. Like, I don't think you're supposed to just be like taking melatonin every night. I think it's supposed to be, if you're someone who has issues sleeping and you can tell, like, I'm way too restless, I'm probably going to be up for hours, but like, you know, so like, yeah, tonight I'll probably take some. Or you're like, your sleep schedule's really messed up and you just want to try to fix it. And obviously it's a little bit easier if you like temporarily use some melatonin to do that. But I, I have a feeling, and I don't know if it's like doctors are incorrectly telling people to do this or people just take it upon themselves, but I have a feeling it's just like overused. Melatonin's probably just like overused. And yeah, it's not, I mean, and that's even my opinion on medication in general. Is like, I'm not against medication, but it should be some kind of a transitionary tool to getting you back on your feet. But like, I, the way I usually see it is like, so like, for example, if you're depressed, you're lacking a lot of motivation, it's understandable why it would be difficult to go outside and exercise, or it would be difficult for you to figure out and be motivated to start eating healthier, because again, typically eating healthy is going to be a more labor intensive routine than eating unhealthy, right? So if you're depressed and you get in a rut as the result of both of these things, because it's extremely easy for that to be the case, because like, if you're getting used to, you already took kind of like the hedonistic plunge, you're inside a lot, you're on the computer a lot, you're eating a lot of easy, quick, like microwave meals, super easy for a human to fall into that. And then you're at risk. You're at risk for becoming depressed, because it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're not getting any sunlight, not eating well, not exercising, these things are pretty likely. Now, it obviously depends a little bit on genetics. Some people are more resilient to this than others. It depends on environment. Some people's families just have better food available than others. So there's a lot of environmental factors, but it is also genetic. It's like, some people do have, I guess, more of a risk of developing depression than others, and you know, obviously not everybody ends up becoming like a shut-in. Like, some people, they just still go outside. They still want to um they still enjoy exercising, and so they just never really run into a lot of these problems. But many of us do, like, just genuinely have a dissatisfaction for these things, you know, and yeah, dissatisfaction for the sun. Now that one is kind of weird, but you know, it happens. It happens to people. And so so that's kind of what I feel like. I mean, if you're going to take an antidepressant and then use that extra energy to start to work on these things, and hey, you know, I'm not saying that it's like everybody would be able to just like not need the medication anymore, because I know that that's kind of an unrealistic outlook, but it's like you probably could have a lower dosage. You know, I refuse to believe that somebody would just be the absolute equal amount of depressed if their diet was revamped. You know, they got some sunlight exposure, they got on a consistent sleep cycle, and they exercised. I mean, there's no way that it's going to be as bad. I have a feeling so often these factors are just due to, you know, a body being improperly taken care of. And some of it is obviously genetic, and, you know, I think that's why I'm saying, like, you know, some people probably do need meds, but for the most part, it's like, why don't we just try to set things up so that the standard is better, you know? But instead what people do is they, like, if they're depressed and then they take the med, then, well, sometimes it also doesn't even work. So I guess I should have prefaced that. Like, a lot of times I guess people feel like it doesn't really help. But assuming it helps, like, what people end up doing is they just end up like using the new burst of energy to just like engage in pleasure. You know, like they don't use that newfound energy to like work on a new routine. They just use it to just like still do the same stuff, which is not really, that's not gonna like change anything. I don't know, because like I said, or I'm just making the assumption, after a while the effect is going to wear off and your body is going to become used to that dosage, and then you're just going to have to like, and then you're just going to have to up the dosage and up the dosage and make it stronger and stronger. I'm sure that's what's going to happen. So that's kind of the problem, is like, I guess, and I don't even know. I mean, maybe some people, it's like, are they even capable? Like, I'm not even sure if they're even capable of improving things or getting a better system, or, you know? But I believe it so firmly. I believe that so firmly that, like, it's very real that just walking, sunlight, even a short amount a day, sunlight, walking, good diet would help so many people. But oh, sleep too, obviously.
sleep, you know? Because it's like so many people, I mean, all those things are horrible, and it's like some of them are doing fine, but I'm certain they could be doing a lot better. And you have to think about, again, as a society, there's societal damage that comes with it. And the societal damage is that we're not operating as efficiently as we could be, because there's probably like tons of really smart people who, you know, are either in high level classes or working high level jobs, and yeah, like they're fine, you know, on paper they're fine, they're doing well for themselves, but what if they're really only at like 70% of their output potential? You know, it's entirely possible that they could only be at 70%. And so the problem with that is, let's say, you know, if they were at their 100%, if they had the good diet, good exercise, good routine, and they reached that 100%, that extra 30% of extra output could actually go towards like helping other people in need, for example. You know, that's kind of the angle that I think gets missed a lot. It could just be taxed, you know, and then reallocated to people who are more in need, you know? So that's why, like, when we're dealing with these material struggles, like, that's a big problem. It's a huge inefficiency when anybody eats improperly. Just a huge problem. Because it, like, it's, I mean, it's great, but see, people only see things as, like, where you are. That's why, like, because so if you're doing well, if you're doing fine, then that's fine, but that's how I think a lot of people just analyze it only that far. Oh, well, this person is a manager, so they're making enough money, but it's like, maybe they're not, you know, because maybe their potential is actually higher than that. But then it becomes like it's not, because you have, you know, some like fast food companies all over the place trying to advertise to them and keep them down, you know. I think phones probably lower most people's potential, so it creates inefficiency, because now there's an addictive thing that you have to be checking. So, wow, I'm getting tired. I don't know. Fortunately, I'm almost to work. I don't know why it's been like this. Ugh. Needed more rest. need to try to get to bed earlier. I mean, I did better last night, but I should have been even earlier. Yeah, because I literally think because my deep sleep was amazing today. I haven't gotten such good deep in a while, and I believe that's... I've just been going to bed past where my body wants to. But yeah, we're almost there. And actually, the timing is looking okay. I mean, it's going to depend on light luck, I guess, but I'm actually kind of surprised. I'm not really sure why I was getting so... Because, I mean, there's no way... Well, no, I'm not going to say there's no way, but... Yeah. Whoa. Some guy, you know, he sped around me, and he's getting stopped at a red light anyway. That's why I just don't get what the point is. Like, yo, did that light really just... that light's crazy. Yeah, he really roomed around me, but... Not sure what it's gonna end up saving him, you know? But I'm even getting worried about him now. I think I'm fine. Yeah, wow, that guy was just crazy. But yeah, I'm too tired. Too tired for a good deep conversation. Somebody flashing the high beams at me for what reason? Like, I don't even got anywhere to go. It's like, oh my gosh. Some people just got like the trigger finger for that. It's crazy. No, for some reason it looks like I'm gonna make it earlier than yesterday. There's gotta be something. Maybe I'm not remembering what is happening, but maybe I left earlier or something. I don't even... I'm like so confused right now how that's even possible. Because I think I'm gonna end up being like a minute sooner. which is like, what? How is that possible? I guess maybe I left at the same time. But it is like, it could have just been down to light luck. Like, I think my light luck was better today than yesterday. I think so. So, you know, obviously matters quite a bit. Ugh. Oh my gosh, it's not connecting. Wow, I almost got the same time as yesterday because of how silly that time thing was. Yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute earlier today, so that's nice. Alright, guys, well, it's been schla, and now it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.